How's it going, everyone? You're very welcome to this LGFA Club Leadership Series webinar. Just before we begin, a couple of wee bits of housekeeping. If you want to ask a question during the presentation, you'll see there's a Q&A box, and there's also a chat box if you want to type in there. And we'll give you plenty of opportunities to engage throughout tonight. And I suppose the last thing from our point of view is just if you can't hear or see us at any stage, just leave the webinar and come back in after that. As I said, you're all very welcome here tonight. My name is Niall Mulrain. I'm the Head of Volunteer Development with the LGFA, and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Vivian here. Vivian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone, how are you? My name is Vivian Lee and I'm a National Development Officer and my remit is volunteer development. So myself and I'll be taking you through the evening.
That's right, thank you, Vivian. And I suppose, guys, what we're going to look at tonight is leadership in a club setting. And that might sound maybe a bit silly, because by virtue of having taken on a role in our clubs, we're all leaders. But I suppose what tonight's going to be about, and what we hope to talk you through tonight, is maybe a few wee tips and tricks and a few wee maybe things to think about of how we could better be leaders within our clubs, within our communities, and within the LGFA. So I suppose, the first question to ask yourselves, and if you want to type in the chat as we go through this, is have you been waiting to take on a leadership role in your club? Maybe you're doing an officer role, and maybe you want to go on one of the principal officer roles, secretary, chairperson, treasurer, PRO, something like that there. If you want to sit in your club executive committee, if you want to be involved in management, if you want to even be involved in your coaching at a higher level, if you want to lead, how can effective leadership help your club as well? So maybe again, guys, if you want to type in the chat, how can being effective leaders as officers, as administrators, help our club? Sometimes we can be worried about leading people where we've grown up with, people in our community, people who maybe have more experience than us, and maybe have been around longer than us, and maybe in our professional lives could be at a different stage to this, or a higher level to this. So there could be a worry about leading those people as well, and how we do that. And sometimes we just don't know where to begin when it comes to leadership in our clubs, and how to take, I suppose, the bull by the horns and get started with it. So those are things that we hope you'll take out of tonight's webinar, and hopefully things we'll address with tonight's webinar. I suppose from our point of view, why people should take on leadership roles in their club is first of all, it's a great way to get involved actively in your club. Okay, whether you've been around for 50 years in the club, or you're new to the parish and new to the area, taking on a leadership role, taking on a job in the club is a great way to ingratiate yourself into the club and get involved. It also, and this is one really overlooked by a lot of people, especially young people, it's a great way to give you practical experience. Okay, so you're involved in a board. It's the same as getting involved in a charitable board. It's the same as getting involved on a strategic board. You're doing a job that'll give you practical experience to take into your own life as well. It's also, I suppose it ties in with that, it's a great way to develop your skills. It's a great way to use your skills that you've got as well. And finally, it's a great way to get to know people. Okay, it's a great way to get to know people. And I know this is probably very rudimentary for you all, because, as I said, you're probably all in a leadership role in your club. But there are some of the reasons why you should get involved. So I have a wee task for you just before we start. And the place to start that we always like to start is the beginning, and it's the why. We always start with the why. So can you tell me what's your club about? Okay, so why is your club there? What's its purpose? What's its mission? What's its vision? And I suppose, are there set roles and responsibilities in your club? Have these been divided out? Have they been are they known to you? Are they known to other members of the club? So maybe if you could type into the chat for me, what is your club about? Why are you here? Why is your club operating at the moment? Vivian will keep an eye on the chat and let us know if anything comes in there as well.
Yeah, so it's once come in there, and thanks, Shona. Opportunity for the ladies to follow in the footsteps of men locally for fun and to compete.
Okay, anything else, guys? Anything else
Being
coming
part of the
in?
community, that's a huge one.
Okay, while you are writing that in, guys, you can see at the bottom of the screen, the bottom of the presentation there. It's sort of the LGFA's mission. You know, it's written across the bottom of the screen. It's sort of intrinsic to everything we do, and it's to be the sport for females, the place for fun, or the game for fun, sorry, and the place for community. And that's everything we do and everything we go about. It sort of underpins those values. So I can see there. There's something else coming in, Vivian, to serve your members, players, community to the best of your ability, and to bring ladies to the fore in the process. I think that's a really good way of saying it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then another one came in there that it must be just a new club set up. So they're saying that they're very new to this side of things, I suppose, as being a leader. But that's really, it's really good and it's really exciting, I suppose, as well, that it's brand new to you. So you're
Yeah.
all beginning, everyone has to step up and become a leader. So that's really good.
Yeah, and I suppose the point of asking you that, case is without knowing why you're here, without knowing what your purpose is, what your objectives are, what your mission and what your visions are. And Louise, I see just Vivian come into the chat there, to grow ladies football within our club and afford our ladies the same opportunities that men have enjoyed. I think that's a great way of putting it as well. So that's your mission and that's your vision. And once you figure that out, once you figure your objectives and your goals and your missions and your vision, then you can start putting actions in place to take leadership roles in making that happen. Okay. So as I said tonight, we have maybe 8 or 9 different tips for you. And they're small bits and small wee bits and nuggets just to give you and let you think about what leadership is and how you can put in practice into your club. So the first thing I would say for any leader and for any person involved in any place in a club is to figure out what your role is and what your scope is. Okay, so we've got our mission and our vision, and now we're looking at our scope. So what can we actually do about it? So depending on your role in your club, your scope for leadership can change. And the advice given here tonight, I suppose, could be realized in different ways. So you just want to bear in mind that your individual role in your club, and what it is, and how you might use whatever advice we give you here today to display true leadership. So I suppose just to give you an example, I'm coming in the night from switching off the floodlights 5 minutes ago. We're doing Ireland Nights Up, and I'm the health and wellbeing officer in the club. So there's I suppose a way I've sort of took it upon myself this year to go, right, we're going to do this and we're going to make sure the lights are on and we're going to give people an opportunity to come out and get active in the month of January. Now that's not to say that's me displaying great leadership, but it's in the small way that we can do it. We've taken on a bit of a leadership role there, you know. So think again, maybe if we could type into the chat first, guys, you know, what is your role? And is there any way at the moment that you can display leadership in that role? So Vivian, you can keep an eye on the chat there as well, just to see what's coming in for us.
So someone's come in there, club secretary setting structure of how we run the club in terms of formal structure.
Yeah, big one. And the secretary is obviously the principal administrator in the club, and all information flows in and out through you. So a real opportunity to go on a leadership role in that role, definitely. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Type it into the chat there first.
We have an underage coach, Gaelic for mothers and others coordinator, which is really good. I suppose we've seen over the past now since Gaelic for mothers and others come in that they're in as players, but thankfully they're also getting involved in the club by taking up different various roles as well. So that's really good stuff, Emer. And then we have a chairperson, an FLO, treasurer, the finances. That's really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, PRO football coming online. They're coming in fast. Sorry, PRO this year and have also been taking on secretary as well. Good stuff. Nice being busy.
Very good. Chairperson, I see coming in there as well, Vivian. So you are, as I said at the start, you know, a lot of people on tonight are going to be taking, you know, you're going to be in leadership roles by default in the job you do in the club. But is there ways we can be more efficient or we can be better leaders? And that's hopefully what we'll have you thinking about tonight. Okay. So the first piece of advice that we have for you is, you know, be the example. You know, we talk about leadership. We can talk about different styles of leadership, and we can be the leader in front leading the charge. We can be the leader behind coaching other people to be their best. Or we can be the leader beside, you know, bringing other people along with you. Or some of us can be the leader within, and that can be the person that goes and says, I want to be the change, and I want to see the change that I'm going to be. So I will be the change. And they're the person that sets an example for others to follow. It's a bit like the leader in front as well. But as a leader, you know, your fellow club officers and your club members are likely to follow you down any behavioural path that you choose. So for the good of the club, you need to be heading down the right pathway. And I know that sounds very simple, but if every interaction you have with your club members is negative, is, you know, talking about how bad things are, talking about the state you're in, and talking about how bad things could be, then other people are going to take that lead as well, and they're gonna, I suppose, copy it and follow you down that path. So if you're seen with your head down, ranting and raving at players, coaches, officials, or generally, you know, conducting yourself in a negative manner, then your colleagues, you know, they'll see no reason why they can't behave in the same manner. And that's very important, I suppose, at the minute. When we talk about respect, and I suppose when we talk about respect, we probably focus on match officials, and they deserve our utmost respect. But I suppose talking about during committee meetings, during our interactions with each other as maybe officers within a club, that we treat each other with respect, and we treat each other, I suppose, with the respect that whatever job anyone's doing, should get. I don't know, Vivian, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
No, it is 100%, I suppose, like that if I know we always talk about on the sideline and different things, and I suppose we all know how we should or shouldn't act. But like you were saying, it's if you're in your committee meetings, and if someone is speaking, it's well, you let them have their opinion, and then I suppose you get to have yours then afterwards. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's your all your opinions, and then you form whatever goes after that then.
Yeah, that's it. So when you think of someone who's taken on a new role in your club, setting a really good example about how things are done, the standards you want to set, how people conduct themselves, and maybe how the club goes about its business, they will take they'll take your lead, you know. I'll head over to you, Vivian, for the next one
then. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, sorry, bit of a cold. Yeah, so awareness. So I suppose that links in with the previous one, is when you're setting the example and being the leader is aware of what you say and what you do is and can be taken up by others as well. And like Niall was saying, that, you know, there's different styles of leadership, and it's you choosing which one you want to take on. There's no right or wrong, and you will probably jump in and out of different leadership roles as well by going between a leader beside or within, and depending on your situation and what you're doing in that current time. And then I suppose your awareness as well, if you're new into the role, which it's nice to see there's a good bit of a mixture of people who've been here a while, who've been in leadership roles, and then brand new people, which it's great. We can all bounce ideas off each other. And yeah, so you're building those relationships. And I think an important one as well, when we're setting the example, is when you're going into a committee meeting, and if someone's speaking, and another one as well is you're aware of time. I think it's hugely important that, as it is, you as a person have given up your time to be whatever role, a secretary or chairperson, and you're saying that, okay, our meeting's an hour, well then you stick to that. You have to be aware of other people, that people have things going on outside of football. Of course, it's not the be all end all of life, I think, as well, isn't it, Niall?
Yeah.
And yeah, so you can see on the screen there, learn how to react to different things, because we're all different, as in how myself and Niall would deal with the situation would probably be completely different. But it's to take into account what people are saying, whether you agree with them or not. At the end of the day, everyone is allowed to share their opinion on it. So don't be getting cross if you don't agree with them. You let them have it, and then you explain your side of the story.
That's right. That's right. And I suppose, like Vivian there, you know, it says on the screen there as well, it works on an individual basis too. You know, it's about awareness, and maybe empathy is the best way of saying this. You know, that you have to understand that people have different backgrounds, people are coming from things from different angles. And just because I was speaking to somebody actually a couple of days ago, and they said, you know, you're walking down the street, or you're talking to one of your friends, and you could disagree about something, and that's okay. You know, you'll never think about it again the rest of the day. But sometimes when we get into our club settings and we get into committee rooms, we can cause, you know, lifelong divisions because we disagreed on a very simple thing. So, you know, sometimes people can react different ways to different kinds of leadership as well. You know, some people might need G'd up, and they might need, you know, roused with a speech, and other people might just need a bit of a push, or a bit of even a softer approach, or a word in their ear to get them on track, or doing whatever job you want to do. And then the other thing, Vivian, is like in the heat of the moment, it's very easy to lose sight of the awareness or the context in a situation, and you can very easily set the wrong tone. So you really want to develop, that's a major skill in leadership, isn't it? Awareness and empathy, and being able to sort of work off how people feel, and how people are going to react to things, is a massive one in terms of leadership too. I suppose, you know, and this is an easy one for us, it's passion, you know, and none of us would be here if we didn't care about what we're doing. And certainly none of you would be on here listening to me and Vivian tonight if you didn't care about what you were doing. So sport is passionate. You feel the same set of emotions out in the pitch every weekend. You know, you get euphoria from victory, and joy, and disappointment, and maybe anger and defeat. And the big thing is, as a leader, you know, you must always try and embody the positive side of them emotions. So you know, commitment, dedication, passion to drive your club on. So, you know, the example I would say is that, you know, if you lose a game, the common theme at the moment seems to be, well, the referee did this, or, you know, the other team got this decision, or, you know, sure, we had to play away from home. You know, and there's always a bit of an excuse, and sometimes we take that into our work in volunteering for our clubs, and it's probably the one I hear most commonly, and especially in ladies football. There's nearly this lack of expectation from ourselves, where we always go, sure, we're just a small club. Sure, we're only a wee club, you know. And that's I suppose, while look, that could be the reality of your situation at times. But being positive, and being passionate about what you're doing, and you know, who cares if you're a wee club? You'd be the best wee club you can be. You'd be the best small club in Ireland, you know. So that's really what we're talking about with passion, is try and take that positive passion, you know, and take that into everything you do in the club. So, as I said, it's not just passion into winning games, you know, caring about the people in your club, um, caring about what they're doing outside of their role in your club, you know. And that's not about fist pumping and running onto the pitch and celebration and things like that. There, if you're the chairperson of the secretary, you know, it can be about showing compassion for your other officers, and maybe, as I said, you know, respecting people's opinions, respecting people's decisions. All those kinds of things can sort of tie in with being a really effective leader in your own club, you know. I suppose over to you for the next one again, Vivian.
Yeah, and then enthusiasm, I suppose these all interlink. It goes back to your passion, like what Niall was saying. You know, you have to be enthusiastic, and like that. It's how you show it. It's not all like you were saying, the fist bumping and stuff. It's enthusiasm is an important characteristic for a leader that you can display in different ways. So depending on what it is, like even just when you come in to, like, we're focusing on meetings, I suppose, because a lot of you have said that you're taking up different roles on the committee. So how are you enthusiastic in a meeting? Are you sitting there, oh, I suppose we would better go through the fixtures? It's about how you portray yourself as well. That if you seem like you're interested in what you're talking about, then you'll get others to buy into it very easily. Whereas if you, or even I suppose as national, you know, if you're talking to people on the ground and they're saying, are sure ye up in the LGFA, it's like, well, no, we're supposed to all buy into it. Not that we all agree with things, but at the end of the day, we have to buy into it, to what's there, because we're all there. Like Niall was saying, what's on the bottom of the screen? It's for everyone, it's for the community. So it's when you're speaking, it brings back to earlier on, it's you are that leader. So what you do say will stick with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be aware of what you said, and it's infectious as well. If you're there and you love what you're talking about and you're really interested in it, someone else will pick up on that, and they also might share the same view as you, but might not necessarily know how to show that they like it, or they don't, or, you know, that they're enthusiastic about it. So like like we're saying, like a leader isn't like you are, people will pick up on what you're saying as well. So I
Yeah.
think that's, isn't it?
That's definitely Vivian, and I think there, like, if we're looking like Ellen, I have the fortune to know Ellen anyway, and I'm sure, Ellen, you're doing 20 other jobs as well as PRO and secretary as well. So fair play to you. But I'm sure at times it can be very tiring to be enthusiastic, and it's probably one of the harder ones as leaders, and as leaders within your own clubs and community. It can be to put into action. It's very easy to say we'll be enthusiastic, and we'll always try our best, but after maybe the 20th or 30th email you've answered that day, and I'd say it gets tiring at times. So that's when it's important to still be enthusiastic about what we do, and that's why it's important that even how, an example of showing leadership would be if you do find yourself in a role where maybe you are getting a bit complacent, or you're getting a bit tired of, maybe you've been in it for a number of years. A really good way of showing leadership can be saying, right, well, I'll take a break, or I'll go and take on a different job, and let somebody with enthusiasm, and somebody who's really hungry to do a great job in this role, let them take it on, Um, and I suppose that shows that's infectious too, letting other people take the reins and bringing other people along with you as well. I suppose this is a pretty straightforward one as well, is ability. Leaders will live and die by their decision making, because that's what people will see. And as a creator of strategy off the field, and you implement that strategy off the field as well. If you're going to lead your club, will you have to lead it not just operationally, but strategically as well. So where are you going in the next 6 months? Where are you just going to be in the next year? You have to have knowledge of what you're doing, and ability to stand and back your decisions, and the strength of your convictions there. So, to be a leader, they're often elevated into their position because of their ability, and without that ability, your authority can become undermined. And again, if we go back to referees, I had a referee in with me this evening, and he was telling me he was doing his referee in service, so he's gone through the rules quiz, and he talked about the need to get a high mark in it. He said, I need to get a high mark in this because I need to know what I'm talking about, because if I don't know what I'm talking about, the players will know that, and they'll undermine my authority on the pitch. And that got me thinking, it's a really good way of putting it, even for ourselves, off the pitch as well, and the team off the pitch. If we don't know what we're talking about, or we don't have the skills to be able to complete a certain task, people will pick up on that. So the big thing for yourselves as leaders is to, think about what skills maybe you needed to develop, and what abilities, or what experience or knowledge do you want to pick up to be able to do your role to the best of your ability, and that's what you want to work on then. Back over to yourself, Vivian.
Communication. Here we go. It's a huge one, isn't it? And William Harmon, actually, he quoted there one of the times I was talking to him, and it was something that's really stuck with me. It was something along the lines where communication is lacking, negativity will fill. And I think that's something that is I just think of that all the time, and it's so true. And I suppose what it means by that is, where communication might not be very strong, or even just non-existent, negative thoughts or different things will come into play. So I suppose no matter what you do, it's important to communicate it. And like that goes back to everything else we've been saying, is no matter what your view is, communicate your view and your opinion on things. And someone out there might agree with you, someone mightn't, but it's important to get your side of the story, or even like what's going on. If your club are deciding that you want to enter in a second team, and you don't just go off by yourself and decide this, make sure that it's a group discussion, and it's something that's important for the team. Or like, I think there was someone that typed into the chat, they've started up Gaelic for Mothers and Others, which is brilliant. And I'm sure that's communicated, because you need to make sure that there's a need for it in the club, and that you're going to have participants, and that it's just done correctly. So I suppose, like, it's vital for everything you do, whether you're on your team or in the committee roles. If you don't have good communication, things will slowly start to fall apart. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah.
No, you're 100%, Vivian. And I think, one big example of this, guys, and something you can put into practice, is around our committee meetings, and around particularly AGM time. And I know clubs where, you know, the financial report at the end of the year can be handed out and maybe requested back. And it would be, you know, the worst thing in the world if it ever got out of that room. And really and truly, that's not really achieving anything, because, you know, the whole country will know it no matter what, because it'll be reported back some way. So would it not be showing great leadership to say, well, we'll get in front of this and we'll publish it. You know, we've nothing to hide. This is our finances. We'll put it up on the website. You know, and that's a really I know I'm probably playing devil's advocate here, because a lot of people are probably thinking, Jesus, we'll not do that. But that'd be a recommendation from myself, that you know, the likes of those things, decisions you've taken as a club, will, you know, put it out there, the reason behind them. You know, because what's the worst that can happen is people can know the truth, you know, and they can have the facts, instead of maybe having discussions down the pub or when they meet each other in the town, you know, about what they think they heard or what someone else said to them. You know, so there's a practical example of how communication can really show leadership in your club. And I suppose you know, that ties into everything you do as a club. You know, maybe it's about how you're selecting the coaches of your underage teams, how you're selecting a senior coach, how people are elected to positions, or how people are selected and appointed to subcommittees. You know, all this should be clear, and you'll find that when you're working with your executives and the communication is good, things are good. Like as Vivian said there, you know, negativity festers where there's space for it to fester. So if you fill that with communication and you fill that with open communication, you'll drive that away. And somebody, I seen it on Twitter this week. What was it? Light is the best disinfectant. You know, so maybe they weren't talking about what we're talking about, but I thought that was a good one when I seen it. You know, I mightn't agreed with the sentiment of where I seen it, but I agreed with that statement. You know, so you know, another example here is, you know, motivational skills. You know, and that ties into enthusiasm and passion as well. Your position as leader means that, you know, and things aren't always rosy. You don't win every game. That's not how sport works. Sometimes, you know, heads will be down. The club might be in difficulty. Results might not been going your way. And if you're in a leadership position in the club, you know, people might look to you to do something about this. And in response to that, you know, you need to show that you have the stomach for a fight or a battle yourselves, before you actually be the motivator that brings other people with you, you know. So we think of motivational skills. That's not, again, you know, being all action and out in front and showing everyone how to do things. That's seeing the qualities in people and giving them the bit of a push to be able to achieve what they want to achieve, or be able to do what they want to do. We talk about success, and we talk about empowering people, and that's what you're doing by motivating people. And empowerment is really it's defined by the removal of barriers. That's what you're doing when you're empowering people. You're taking away all the things that'll stop them being able to do what they want to do. You know, so empowering people and motivating people are very, very similar. So as a motivator and as a leader within your club, you need to look at maybe what other people are doing and seeing, is there any blockages in their path? And that's what good leadership is, looking at where the blockages are and going, right, well, we'll take them out of the way, and we'll let people grow, and we'll give people the space to grow, you know. And then I suppose the last one here is your vision. And we started tonight by talking about your mission and your vision. And I suppose your mission is why you're here, but your vision is where you want to be. And I suppose we talked about maybe 6 or 7 different skills there that are required to be a successful leader. And they all, Vivian said it, they're all interchangeable and they all interlock. But whenever you call on one of them, you do it as another step in your ladder. You do it of your vision of where you want to be, and wherever your leadership journey takes you, those steps and those skills we talked about tonight will help you get there. So as I said, wherever your vision, wherever it takes you, whether it's, as we've seen, club people here, whether you want to get involved at county level, whether you see yourself one day as the president of the LGFA, to get there, you'll need to use the skills we talked about today. Okay. And I suppose your vision will require the ability then for you to figure out how you're going to do these things. So it might just be your vision doesn't go any further than what you want to do with your club and how you want to make your club the best place it can possibly be. But as I say, to get to your vision, you need to know what actions you need to take, how you need to communicate with other people, and how other people are going to contribute to that success. And then, as we spoke about, motivation and enthusiasm to share that vision and get the support of other people. And as we said, we started off with the why, and now we're talking about the where. And without knowing where you're going and where you're trying to get to, your ability to lead, your capacity is seriously diminished. So one thing I would like you to do at the end of this call or the end of this workshop is, write down 3 things that you would like to do in your role this year, and have those as your goals, because it's the idea that a goal is a dream written down, and before you write it down, it's just a dream. So write down your goals, for yourself and whatever role you're in, for the rest of your executive or your subcommittee or whatever team you're involved with. And then you look at your skills and the things we talked about tonight, and you use everything at your disposal to make sure those goals happen. Just to touch on a couple of things just before we finish tonight, we talk about high performance, and when we think of high performance, we think of professional sports, we think of our inter-county teams, but really and truly, we can all be high performing people, and we can be high performing clubs. And to do that, there's a couple of things that we need to focus on. And the first is to understand what motivates each of us in our club. So what are the positive things that motivate us, and what are the negative things that motivate us as well? Somebody said to me, spite's the great motivator, so hopefully not too many of us are driven by spite, but understand what motivates each person to do what they want to do, and to be where they want to be. It might be because they hate the club next door, that might be they hate the club down the road. That could be the negative motivator, but the other things we need to do is build connections between each person's role and the club's mission and strategic objectives, because it's the idea that we all want to be pulling in the one direction. And my vision could be different to Vivian's vision about where we want volunteer development to be. But we have to talk to each other, and we have to figure out, right, well, this is where we're going together. And that's called alignment. So that's another thing you're looking for to be a high performing team. And the third thing then is regular communication, and being consistent with it. Because you can see there at the bottom, uncertainty leads to inconsistency in behavior, and that leads to fractured relationships and creates chaotic conditions. If your job involves leading other people, which everyone on the call tonight, in some form or other, you're leading something in your club. The implications of that are clear. The important thing you can do every day is to help your team members get progress in a meaningful way. And it might be that you're talking about, one step at a time and very, very small improvements. But that's what being a leader is, and that's what being a part of a high performing unit is as well.
Yeah, no, sorry, let's jump in there. There's a question just come in.
Yeah.
Someone asked that how often do we think a club committee meeting should be? Should it be monthly, or how often?
We might come back to that at the end, if that's all right, Vivian. We'll come back to that at the end of the workshop, because I do have thoughts on that. I suppose, the most powerful thing that people in your club will find is that if they see progress and they see things happening, that's the biggest motivation a lot of them will get to being involved and to help you do whatever you want to do. So the big things you must understand is what drives everyone to be involved in your club. And it mightn't be that they all want to be there 7 days a week, and that's okay as well. You need to sort of help build connections between each person's work, what they're doing for you, and what's driving them. So what's their mission, and what's their objective, what's their goals. As a leader in clubs, and it's something we don't do really well, is to try and provide feedback to people on what they're doing well, and what they're doing to help, and how how they're contributing to what are the club's goals on an ongoing basis. And then, as I said, regular communication about development, and about how people can grow and how people can keep suppose progressing within the club. And I suppose the single biggest managerial or leadership competency that you can have is that ability to bring people on. And you could call it like coaching, like a coach on the field. To be a leader in the club, you're a coach off the field, and you're mentoring people, you're bringing people with you, you're developing people. So that's just a wee bit on being a high performing club. And some of you might be there already. Some of you that might be your aspiration to be a high performing club, but it's achievable for everyone here tonight. I suppose just a wee quote and a couple of things to finish off with. To build a strong team, you must see someone else's strength as a complement to your weakness and not a threat to your position or authority. Your strengths together will lead to a high performing team. And sometimes we can find in our clubs that someone who made a really, really brilliant chairperson can then do, 3-5 years and decide, right, I'm done with that. I'll become the secretary. And they might be an all right secretary. And they do that for another 3 years and they say, right, I'm going to become the treasurer. And they might have absolutely no background or ability or skills or knowledge on what it takes to be a really good treasurer. And maybe that's because they just want to stay involved, or they want to stay at the top table there. But what a good leader would do is to recognize, well, right, this isn't my strength, but I know someone who would be really good at this, and be okay to hand over to them and say, we'll work together rather than we'll work against each other. So I suppose what you want to do, guys, from the night, and what you want to take from the night is focus on developing that culture of continuous improvement. If we're not moving forward, we're standing still. So a culture of continuous improvement is one where your whole group looks to improve every aspect of its performance every day at every level. It's not about being the best. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And that's really what being a leader is. We're keeping moving forward, we're keeping developing, we're keeping progressing, we're keeping driving the thing forward. So I know, as Vivian said there, we have a few questions and things like that there, but that's our presentation done for the night. So thank you for taking part, and thank you for coming on tonight.